When you take a slow breath and let the world settle for a moment, something remarkable begins to unfold in the quiet. You start to sense a feeling that is older than memory, older than language, older even than human thought itself. A soft intuition that you are not standing alone inside your life, but woven into something much larger, something that stretches far beyond the borders of your body, your home, and the brief years you spend under the sun. For centuries, people have tried to name this feeling. Some call it intuition, some call it instinct. Others describe it as a kind of spiritual gravity, drawing every living thing toward every other. But behind the poetry and the metaphors, there is an unexpected truth hidden within the quiet machinery of life. Everything that is alive is connected not symbolically, not philosophically, but literally, bound together by invisible threads that have been shaping our bodies, our emotions, and our choices since the first cells appeared on a young Earth nearly 4 billion years ago. These threads are not made of light or energy in the mystical sense. They are made of exchanger, constant passing of atoms, memories, signals, and microscopic stories that drift between living beings without sound. Every breath you take, every step you walk, every heartbeat that rises quietly in your chest participates in this exchange. You are not just living in the world is continuously moving through you. When you inhale, you are pulling into your lungs atoms exhaled by forests, oceans, strangers, and ancestors. Oxygen forged in stars billions of years ago slides into your bloodstream. Molecules that once drifted through the lungs of ancient animals now dissolve into your cells. When you exhale, you return these same atoms to the air, sending them back into the invisible network, ready to be drawn into the body of a tree, a bird, a passing human, or perhaps someone you will never meet. This is the first thread, the quiet circulation of the planet, breathing through every living thing. The next thread is even quieter, so quiet that most people never feel it consciously. Every cell in your body carries electrical whispers. Tiny signals leap from one nerve to another, shaping thoughts, memories, movement, and emotion. But these signals don't stop at the edge of your skin. They extend outward in subtle fields, rippling gently into the air. Your presence, whether calm or anxious, influences the people around you more than you might imagine. Studies show that heartbeats can synchronize between strangers sitting close together, and brainwave patterns can shift in response to someone else's emotions, even without a single word exchanged. It is as if the human nervous system carries a faint glow-an, unspoken language that passes through rooms, classrooms, cities, and families. We feel each other not only through conversation but through these invisible echoes. When someone near you feels stressed, your own body reacts. When someone enters the room with quiet confidence, you feel it before they speak. This is the second thread, the shared atmospheric field of emotion, shaped by biology but felt like intuition. The third thread, the deepest and most ancient, runs through time itself. Every living thing on Earth descends from the same microscopic ancestor, a single cell that survived long enough to divide, adapt, and create descendants that spread across the young oceans. That cell became the root of the tree of life. Every plant, every animal, every human, every species that has ever existed is another branch growing from that ancient trunk. This is not metaphor, but biology. Your cells use the same chemical alphabet as mushrooms, whales, and redwood trees. The same patterns of DNA that shape your heart and lungs appear in the bodies of creatures that lived hundreds of millions of years before humans appeared. This ancestral thread connects you not only to every person alive today, but to every living thing that has ever walked, swum, crawled, or bloomed on Earth. You are related to the forests, to the insects, to the birds beyond your window. Your blood carries the echoes of ancient oceans. Your bones carry minerals once part of mountains. Your DNA carries memories of survival, written by creatures that lived through storms, ice ages, extinctions, and cosmic accidents. And then there is the cosmic thread, the one that stretches beyond Earth entirely. The atoms in your body, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your muscles, were forged in the collapsing hearts of ancient stars. Those stars exploded, scattering their elements into space, where they drifted for billions of years before becoming part of the cloud that gave birth to our solar system. In this sense, every living thing on Earth is built from the same stardust, bound by the same cosmic chemistry, shaped by the same laws. When people say we are made of stars, it is not poetry, it is science. These threads breath, emotion, ancestry, and stardust form an invisible web connecting every living being. They stretch across oceans and forests, across eras and species, across the silent distance between galaxies. You are a single point in this web, but the web moves when you move. Your choices send ripples outward. Your emotions shift the air around you. Your breath becomes someone else's breath. Your life continues the story of a cell that refused to die billions of years ago. And in moments of stillness, when the world grows quiet enough, you can almost feel it. A soft awareness rising from somewhere deep, telling you that loneliness is an illusion, that separation is temporary. That existence is a shared experience written in patterns too large for one lifetime to see. Tonight, as you rest, let that awareness settle gently. Feel the breath passing in and out. Feel the heart's rhythm blending with the calm around you. Feel the ancient threads holding you, not as an individual floating alone in a cold universe, but as part of a living tapestry that stretches far beyond sight. You are not separate. You never were. Every living thing is speaking to you quietly, continuously, in a language older than words. If you listen closely enough beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the weight of your day, you can feel something else entirely, a quiet hum, almost like the distant echo of a memory you never lived, moving softly through the atmosphere around you. It's not a sound, and it's not a feeling in the way we usually describe feelings. It is more like a subtle shift in the air, a gentle recognition that life is constantly in conversation with itself, even when we're unaware of it. This whispering web becomes clearer the more we understand the subtle exchanges happening inside and around us. Every living thing sends signals, even the ones that have no voice, no face, no heartbeat. Trees speak in chemical pulses. Oceans murmur through currents unseen from the surface. Animals send signals through body heat, movement, and electromagnetic fields. Humans, without realizing it, are surrounded by these quiet communications. We interpret them not in words but in sensations, instincts, intuitions, and the unexplainable pull toward or away from certain people or places. To understand these threads, imagine walking into a forest. The moment you step beneath the canopy, your body begins adjusting. Your breath slows, your nervous system softens. Your heartbeat, almost without your permission, becomes quieter. This isn't spiritual imagination, it's biology. Trees release molecules called phytoncides to communicate with each other and protect against threats. When humans inhale them, our bodies respond as if part of the system. Stress hormones drop. Immune cells rise. The forest is not just scenery. It is speaking, and your body is listening. This is another invisible thread, the chemical language of the living world, flowing through air, water, leaves, and lungs. It connects you to forests you've never visited and to ecosystems you may never see. Even when you leave the forest, the molecules remain inside you for hours, sometimes days, continuing their quiet conversation within your cells. If you shift your awareness to the ocean, the same threads appear in different forms. Waves are not just water rising and falling. They are energy traveling across thousands of miles. Marine life communicates through vibrations, frequencies, electrical pulses. Even the salt in your blood is a reminder that your ancestors once lived in the sea. The ocean is not separate from you. It is an ancient home whose chemistry still lives inside your veins. Another thread flows through something far less visible: the collective behavior of life. Birds turning mid-flight in perfect synchronization. Schools of fish shifting direction in a heartbeat. Humans gathering emotions during concerts, ceremonies, or moments of collective calm. These are not coincidences. They are expressions of emergent intelligence patterns that arise when many individuals behave as one. Scientists call this swarm behavior or collective flow, but the experience feels like something more: a moment when individuality dissolves and every separate being becomes part of a larger organism. Humans feel this more often than they realize. When a room falls silent before someone speaks. When a crowd holds its breath at the same moment. When two people lock eyes and somehow understand each other without words. These moments reveal a truth. We are not isolated minds trapped inside separate bodies. Our nervous systems are wired to connect, mirror, and synchronize. Even silence carries meaning. Even stillness is communication. There are threads that run through memory as well: memory, not just of your own life, but of lives that came long before you were born. Trauma, fear, strength, resilience, calmness. These traits can be passed from one generation to the next through epigenetic marks. This means the experiences of your ancestors, their struggles, their survival, their victorious hope, your emotions and reactions today. The courage you feel in difficult times may not be entirely your own. It may be an echo from someone who lived centuries before you, whispering through your DNA. In this sense, the invisible threads are not just horizontal, connecting life across the planet in the present moment, but also vertical, traveling downward into the deep wells of time. You are the continuation of billions of years of decisions made by life, to grow instead of shrink, to move instead of remain still, to reach forward instead of collapse. But the threads stretch upward, toward the stars. For life does not end where Earth ends. Cosmic rays pass through your body every second, carrying information from across the galaxy. The magnetic field of the Earth wraps around you like a hidden shield, shaped by molten metal deep beneath your feet. The sun's cycles influence your sleep, your hormones, your emotions. And when the moon pulls on the oceans, it pulls on the water inside you as well. The invisible threads tie you not just to the planet, but to the cosmic environment surrounding it. You are not an observer of the universe. You are a participant in its movements. When you begin to see life through this lens, something softens. The world feels less like a scattering of separate beings and more like a single breathing entity expressing itself through different forms. A tree is not other. A bird is not other. Even a stranger passing you on the street carries thousands of invisible connections to you through shared atoms, shared ancestry, shared stories, shared stardust. Every living thing is an expression of the same ancient force, life choosing to exist. And yet, the threads are delicate. They can be ignored, forgotten, silenced, beneath the noise of modern life. Many people move through their days without ever sensing the web they're part of. But the threads do not disappear simply because we overlook them. They continue humming beneath everything, holding ecosystems together, shaping the weather, guiding migrations, forming memories, influencing behavior. Tonight, as your mind grows slower and the world around you begins to dim, imagine the threads stretching out from you in every direction, across miles, across oceans, across time. Feel the breath that once passed through forests. Feel the minerals from ancient mountains resting in your bones. Feel the quiet charge of starlight moving through the atoms inside you. You are connected in ways you may never fully understand. You are part of a conversation that began long before you, and will continue long after. And even in your quietest moments, when you feel the most alone, the threads still hold you gently, invisibly, endlessly. There is a moment, usually late at night, when the world becomes quieter than usual, the noise of daylight fades, the mind softens, and the boundaries you usually feel between yourself and everything else begin to loosen. In that softness, the invisible threads become easier to sense, like faint lines glowing at the edges of your awareness. One of the most subtle threads runs through time itself. Every organism on Earth, from a hummingbird to a human to a towering cedar tree, moves to rhythms shaped by the cycles of the planet. You sleep and wake according to the rotation of the Earth. You feel more alert when sunlight hits your eyes, because your brain, shaped by millions of years of adaptation, responds to light as a command. Plants open and close their leaves with the day. Birds migrate with the seasons. Coral reefs spawn in perfect synchronization with the moon's glow. These cycles form an ancient choreography. Even when you think you're acting freely, you are moving within patterns written long before you were born. Circadian rhythms, lunar rhythms, seasonal rhythms all flowing through your bloodstream. You are not separate from nature's clock. You are a piece of it. Your cells, your hormones, your energy levels, they are all tuned to the sky above you, like instruments shaped to play the same cosmic symphony. Another thread lies in temperature, something so ordinary that we rarely consider its meaning. Warmth travels like a message. Your body holds heat not only for yourself, but for others. When you hug someone, your warmth transfers to them. When you sit near a fire, the heat that reaches your skin is not just energy, it is the same ancient warmth that once radiated from newborn stars. Heat moves from object to object, creature to creature, keeping the planet alive through a network of exchanges. Even the warmth inside your chest is a continuation of the first heat released during the birth of the universe. There is also a thread woven through movement, the way all living things constantly adjust, shift, and respond to each other. Plants grow towards sunlight with slow, deliberate motion. Animals migrate along routes passed down through generations. Humans gather in patterned city movements, morning routines, shared pathways that cross and recross. Movement creates invisible footprints, shaping the world in subtle ways. When birds take flight at the same moment, or when crowds drift together like tides, they reveal how deeply connection shapes behavior. But perhaps the most mysterious thread is the one woven through attention, the silent energy that flows wherever living beings focus their awareness. When you sit with someone and truly pay attention, the connection between you strengthens. When an animal watches you, you feel it instantly, even before you see it. When a forest is filled with the gaze of countless creatures, you sense a kind of presence in the air. Attention itself forms a quiet bridge. Scientists can measure some effects: heart rates synchronizing, brain waves aligning, chemical signals shifting. But there is more happening beneath the surface, something that feels like a shared field of awareness, a kind of collective noticing that binds living beings together. Consider how plants react when one of them is harmed. Even if you injure just a single leaf, nearby plants respond through chemical signals. They brace themselves, adjust their defenses, and loosen or tighten their internal flows. It is as if the whole forest feels the wound. Animals respond in similar ways. When one member of a herd senses danger, the awareness spreads instantly, faster than any physical signal could travel. Humans experience this, too. When you enter a room, you can sense the atmosphere immediately. A joyful room feels light before anyone speaks. A tense room feels heavy. We often describe it as intuition, but intuition is simply the mind recognizing patterns that the body has already detected. The thread of shared emotion, shared perception, and shared presence is subtle, but it is real. There is another thread, that exists at the molecular level, the thread of transformation. Every meal you eat becomes part of your body. Every plant you touch carries particles that land on your skin. Every creature that decomposes in the soil becomes nutrients that rise again as new life. Nothing in nature is ever truly isolated or lost. Everything transforms, returns, continues, and becomes part of something else. When a tree falls in a forest, fungi bloom within it. Bacteria return it to the soil. Its minerals rise again in new plants. Animals feed on the plants, and the cycle continues. You, too, are made of countless cycles of earth, water, sun, and stardust. You are a culmination of transformations older than mountains. This thread of transformation reminds you that nothing is ever truly gone. Life is passed forward in forms we can see and in forms we cannot. Your body is temporary, but the materials that make it are ancient and will continue long after. Every living thing participates in this ongoing exchange, giving, receiving, dissolving, and becoming. And then there is the quietest thread of all, the thread of awareness, the simple fact that you are here, able to witness your own existence, the ability to pause, to breathe, to feel the world moving around you is not something separate from nature. It is nature reflecting on itself. Through your awareness, the universe becomes conscious of its own patterns. Through your senses, it feels itself. Through your thoughts, it contemplates its own story. You are not a visitor. You are not an observer. You are a piece of the universe looking inward. When you understand this, loneliness dissolves into something softer. The world begins to feel less like a collection of unrelated objects and more like a single breathing organism. The trees outside your window are not just scenery. They are distant relatives. The air in your lungs is borrowed from countless living beings. The sunlight touching your skin has traveled across millions of miles, carrying warmth that once belonged to the heart of a star. Tonight, as you let your body settle and your thoughts quiet, imagine the invisible threads glowing softly around you. Each breath you take brightens them. Each heartbeat strengthens them. You are held in a web so vast and ancient that even the stars are part of it. You are connected. You are remembered. You are part of everything that has ever lived and everything that ever will. And in the stillness of this moment, those threads are humming, gently welcoming you back into the truth you have always belonged to. There is a certain softness that settles over the world in the hours before dawn. The sky has not yet chosen its color. The air feels suspended, almost weightless. In those quiet moments, when the earth is turning but the world has not fully woken, the invisible threads reveal themselves most clearly, like the faint glow of constellations just before sunrise washes them away. In these hours, something remarkable happens. Everything slows down enough for you to feel the world moving through you, instead of you moving through the world. One of the gentlest threads that ties all living things together flows through sound, not the loud, obvious noises of life, but the vibrations underneath them. Every creature, every object, every cell produces some kind of frequency. The human heart sends out a subtle rhythm. Trees resonate when the wind moves through their leaves. Even mountains hum, vibrating at frequencies too low for the ear to notice. Scientists call this Earth's natural resonance, but many people recognize it simply as presenza, feeling that you are never truly alone, because life is always humming softly around you. If you place your hand on your chest in the early morning, you can feel your heartbeat syncing with this larger rhythm. The drum inside you echoes the drum of the planet beneath you. This synchronization is not metaphorical, it is biological. Studies show that human bodies adjust to the frequencies of natural environments. When you walk barefoot on the ground or sit near old forests, Your heart rate and brain waves shift closer to the Earth's rhythm. It is as though your body is remembering an ancient pattern shared by every creature that has ever walked this planet. Another thread flows through light, but not the bright, colorful light we see during the day. This thread is woven through the faintest forms of light biophotons, tiny particles emitted by living cells. Your body glows, quietly, invisibly. Plants glow. Animals glow. Even microorganisms release these soft sparks of energy. Although you cannot see them with your eyes, special instruments can detect them, revealing a hidden world of gentle illumination. This faint glow is not random. It follows rhythms, pulses, and patterns, as though life is constantly communicating in a language made of light. When two living beings come close to each other, human to human, human to plant, their biophoton emissions begin to synchronize. This subtle exchange helps regulate growth, healing, and cellular harmony. You are, quite literally, sharing light with the world around you. There is also a thread made of gravity, the quiet force that anchors you to the Earth and anchors moons to planets and planets to stars. But gravity does more than keep you grounded. It shapes the very structure of your body. Bones grow strong because they push against gravity. Muscles form because they resist it. Even your sense of orientation, your inner balance is built on the Earth's pull. Without gravity, life changes dramatically. Astronauts develop weaker bones, softer muscles, and altered senses of time. Plants struggle to know which direction to grow. A world without gravity would be a world where the invisible threads collapse and life as we know it would unravel. Gravity is the most silent of all connections, but also the most faithful. It holds us all, without asking anything in return. Another invisible thread flows through memory, but not just your own memories. Life carries memories written in behavior. Sea turtles return to the same beaches their ancestors used centuries earlier. Salmon swim upriver, following routes passed down genetically. Birds migrate along paths no individual bird remembers, yet every one of them knows. Humans hold ancestral memories, two echoes of instincts and emotions passed down through generations. Sometimes you feel fear without knowing why. Sometimes you recognize a place you've never been. Sometimes you sense danger before you see it. These are not accidents. They are memories traveling across time, held inside your nervous system like quiet messages from the past. And there is a thread in the opposite direction, imagination, which carries life forward. Humans can imagine futures that do not yet exist. Nature dreams through you. The universe creates possibilities through your thoughts. When you picture something in your mind, an idea, a hope, a memory, you are extending the thread of life into the future, weaving new patterns into the tapestry of existence. Another thread, delicate but powerful, is woven through compassion, the ability of living beings to sense and respond to the suffering or joy of others. This thread appears everywhere in nature. Elephants mourning lost companions, dolphins supporting weak swimmers, trees sharing nutrients through underground fungal networks when one member of the forest is struggling. Humans often believe compassion is unique to them, but it is far older. It is a biological inheritance, passed down from the earliest social creatures who learned that survival is easier when life moves together instead of alone. Compassion is one of the strongest threads connecting living beings, soft, yes, but unbreakable. There is also the thread of choice, the subtle power that humans carry more strongly than most species. Every choice you make, how you speak, how you move, how you carry ripples outward into the web of connections. A gentle choice strengthens the web, a harmful one strains it. Life is shaped not only by forces outside you, but by the quiet decisions you make in moments when no one else is watching. In this way, you become a weaver of the threads, not just a passenger within them. And perhaps the most mysterious thread of all is the one formed by consciousness the awareness within you that watches, listens, feels, and wonders. Consciousness is the thread that allows the universe to reflect upon itself. Through your awareness, the cosmos sees its own stars. Forests feel their own wind. Oceans recognize their own motion. You are not looking at the universe from the outside. You are the universe looking back at itself through human eyes. Tonight, as your thoughts soften and your breath slows, imagine yourself resting inside this great weblight. Gravity, memory, rhythm, compassion, imagination, all holding you gently. The world is not something you stand apart from. It is something you belong to, deeply and completely. You are a thread in the tapestry. You are woven into everything. You are part of every story nature has ever told. And as you close your eyes, the invisible threads continue humming around you, carrying the quiet truth that you are never alone in this moment, not in any moment. There is a moment when evening begins to settle, a soft turning of the day when light grows thinner and the colors of the world begin to dissolve. In that gentle fading, you can almost feel a shift, subtle but unmistakable. It's as though the boundary between yourself and everything around you becomes a little more porous, a little easier to pass through. This is when the invisible threads begin to glow again, not with brightness, but with presence. One of the most delicate of these threads is the one woven through touch, not just physical contact, but the way all living things influence each other through closeness. When two people sit side by side, their heart rhythms adjust. When a parent holds a child, their nervous systems begin to mirror one another. Even animals respond to touch, with chemical releases that ease fear, deepen trust, and strengthen social bonds. Touch is not only an action, it is a language older than words. Plants respond to touch, too, growing stronger when brushed by wind or passing creatures. Their stems thicken, their roots deepen, their resilience rises. They become aware of their environment through a kind of tactile listening. Life learns through contact. Another quiet thread comes from shared patterns, the repeating structures that appear everywhere from snowflakes to galaxies. Rivers branch like the veins in your body. Tree roots resemble the networks of neurons inside your brain. Lightning forks in the same patterns as coral and fungal webs underground. These repeating shapes called fractals reveal a secret unity. The universe builds life using the same geometry, no matter its scale. When you look closely at these patterns, you begin to understand that life is not random. It is shaped by rules so deep and elegant that they guide the growth of forests, mountains, clouds, and your own body. In this way, you share a blueprint with every living thing, quiet, architectural thread binding you to the structure of the world. There is another thread hidden inside every breath you take, woven through microbes, the tiny organisms that sustain life from the shadows. You are not a single being. Inside you live trillions of microbes that guide digestion, shape mood, strengthen immunity, and even influence behavior. They communicate with your neurons and your hormones, forming an ecosystem as complex as a rainforest. But the thread does not end with you. The microbes in your body come from soil, from plants, from water, from animals, from the people you live near. You carry the microscopic signatures of every environment you've touched. And when you move, you leave traces of your microbes behind on doorknobs, on air currents, on the skin of others. You are constantly exchanging life with the world without ever noticing. You are a walking conversation between ecosystems. Another thread stretches through dreams, the inner landscapes where your mind wanders when the world grows quiet. Dreams are not random fires in the brain. They are the mind's way of integrating experience, emotion, memory, and intuition. In dreams, you revisit places you've never been. You meet people who feel familiar, even if you can't recall their names. You sense meaning in symbols you cannot explain. Dreams reveal a deeper connection between consciousness and the natural rhythms of the planet. Animals dream as well, dogs, running in their sleep, birds twitching as if taking flight. Even some reptiles enter dreamlike states. Dreaming is a shared inheritance, a nightly crossing into a world where boundaries blur and the threads become visible again. There is a thread woven through language, not just words, but the ancient sounds that existed long before humans created alphabets. Birds sing in patterns that follow mathematical laws. Whales communicate across hundreds of miles. Wind shapes its own tonal music as it moves through forests and canyons. Even silence has texture. When you speak, your voice carries vibrations that influence not only minds, but bodies. We understand far less about language than we think. Beneath every spoken sentence lies a deeper layer of communication tone, rhythm, breath, all of which flow between living beings. And then there is the quiet thread of choice, which returns again and again. Every living thing makes choices. It's not always with thought, but with motion. Plants choose to grow toward light. Animals choose safety, food, companionship. Humans choose meaning. You choose how to shape your moment, your day, your life. These choices ripple through the invisible web, influencing others in ways you may never see. A kind action softens the world in tiny increments. A harsh one strains the connections. Life moves through the consequences of choices. There is a thread woven through change, the force that steers life forward. Nothing living is static. Even mountains erode, forests transform, rivers shift course. Cells renew themselves constantly. Your skin replaces itself. Your bones regenerate. Your memories rearrange themselves in the quiet hours. Change is not an interruption. It is the language through which life expresses itself. To resist change is to resist the thread that binds you to every living system. Another thread, soft but steady, flows through intuition, the quiet, knowing that rises before thought. Intuition is not magic. It is your body synthesizing thousands of subtle signals: temperature, tone, scent, posture, energy, memory. It is how animals navigate the world with grace. It is how humans sense danger or recognize comfort. Intuition is the brain's way of listening to the thread signals traveling from the world, through the body, into awareness. And finally, there is the thread of belonging, which may be the oldest and most essential of them all. Every species seeks belonging. Wolves gather in packs, birds in flocks, humans in communities. Trees grow in groves where their roots intertwine. Even stars form clusters. Belonging is the natural state of life. Separation is the illusion. When belonging is broken, creatures suffer. When belonging is restored, even briefly, healing begins. Your desire to belong is not weakness. It is biology, calling you back to the web you came from. Tonight, as the world grows dim and your thoughts grow softer, imagine these threads stretching across the dark like strands of quiet starlight. They connect you to everything that breathes, everything that grows, everything that has ever lived. You are not drifting alone. You are supported by a network so ancient and vast that even the stars are woven into its pattern. Rest in that truth. You belong. You always have. You always will. The invisible threads will hold you through the night, gently, patiently, endlessly. There is a special kind of quiet that appears only at night. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of everything listening. In that stillness, the invisible threads begin to rise again, like mist lifting from the surface of a dark lake. They don't call attention to themselves. They don't ask to be seen. They simply exist, waiting for you to slow down enough to feel them brushing softly against your awareness. One of these threads flows through synchrony. the natural tendency for living things to fall into rhythm with one another. When people walk side by side, their steps often match without conscious effort. When musicians play together, their heartbeats tend to align. Even fireflies blink in perfect unison, creating waves of light that ripple across forests and riverbanks in the dark. Synchrony is more than coincidence. It is a biological magnetism's subtle pull, drawing separate beings into harmony. This tendency runs deep, perhaps as old as life itself. Cells synchronize when they divide. Hormones synchronize in groups of women living together. Even distant populations of animals migrate in seasonal harmony, as if responding to a shared, unspoken pulse. When you sway gently to a song, or breathe in time with someone you love, you are participating in this ancient synchrony. It tells you that connection is not something you create. It is something you fall into naturally, as effortlessly as water flowing downhill. Another thread runs through trust, a quiet and fragile force that shapes the behavior of every social species. Trust is not a thought but a feeling, an opening, a softening, a willingness to lean toward instead of away. Pack animals survive through trust. Birds navigating vast migrations rely on it. Humans build entire worlds with it, families, friendships, communities, dreams. And yet, trust is delicate. It can be broken with a single harsh moment and rebuilt only through many gentle ones. Still, once trust forms between living beings, it becomes a thread stronger than fear, binding them in ways that defy distance and time. When someone trusts you, their nervous system relaxes, their guard lowers, their breath deepens. In your presence, their body feels safe enough to heal. There is another thread made of curiosity, force, that drives all living things to explore beyond what they know. Plants reach toward the sun, roots stretch into the soil, animals wander across continents, and children look at the world with limitless wonder. Curiosity is life's way of expanding itself. Humans often treat curiosity as a mental trait, but it is far more primal than that. Curiosity is encoded in your cells. It guides your instincts. It lives in the moment you ask, "What is this?" or "What lies beyond?" or "What if?" Through curiosity, life keeps reinventing itself. There is a thread woven through memory of place, the deep connection living beings form with the spaces they inhabit. Birds return to the same forests year after year. Elephants revisit the bones of their ancestors. Even humans feel an inexplicable pull toward places from childhood, or landscapes that feel familiar without reason. The earth holds memories too. Soil changes with every creature that walks over it. Rivers carve history into stone. Forests remember the fires that shaped them. Places are not passive. They are participants in the web of life. And when you feel at home in a place, it is because your inner patterns resonate gently with the patterns of the land beneath your feet. Another thread flows through silence, though not the kind we usually imagine. Silence in nature is rarely truly silent. It is filled with micro sounds, the shifting of leaves, the pulse of distant water, the breath of wind. Silence is not the absence of life, but the space that allows life's subtleties to be heard. Humans need silence more than they realize. In silence, the mind recalibrates. The heart settles. The nervous system reorders itself. Silence strengthens the threads that connect you, because in quiet moments, you can finally hear what you've been too busy to notice. There is also a thread woven through forgiveness, a force that rarely gets discussed in science but quietly shapes the survival of entire species. Animals reconcile after conflict. Groups mend fractures. Life renews trust so it can continue moving forward. Without forgiveness, social species would collapse under the weight of their own misunderstandings. Even your own cells practice forgiveness, repairing damaged DNA, healing wounds, restoring balance after stress. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is releasing. It is loosening the knot that keeps the thread from moving freely again. It is one of the most healing powers life has ever known. And then there is the thread of wonder. The spark that ignites when you look at the night sky or listen to waves or stand in a place that feels impossibly ancient. Wonder is not childish. It is a biological response to beauty, scale, and mystery. It reminds you that you are part of something far larger than your mind can fully grasp. Wonder clears the fog of familiarity. It refreshes your vision. It reawakens the connection between the world inside you and the world outside. When you feel wonder, you are brushing against the threads of existence, feeling them vibrate faintly beneath your awareness. Another thread of the rarest and most profound is the thread of presence. Presence is the moment when you are not lost in the past or rushing into the future, but resting exactly where your breath is. Presence dissolves separation. It brings the world into focus. It softens the walls built by thought and expectation. In presence, life feels closer, more vivid, more intimate. And in that intimacy, the invisible threads glow brightest. Presence allows you to feel the warmth of another being, the quiet rhythm of your own breath, the hum of the world around you. Presence is not passive. It is a form of connection, a doorway into the deeper truth that everything around you is alive, responsive, and participating in the same great story. Tonight, as your body softens and your mind settles into the gentle dimness of evening, imagine all these threads synchrony: trust, curiosity, memory of place, silence, forgiveness, wonder, presence gathering quietly around you. They do not pull. They do not entangle. They simply hold you, the way the earth holds every living thing, with patience, with gentleness, with a calm that has existed for billions of years. You are part of this web. You are shaped by it. You are supported by it. And no matter where you go or how far you wander, the threads follow, binding you softly, invisibly, endlessly to the living world. There is a softness that lives between moments of quiet space, after one breath ends and before the next begins. Most people pass through this space without noticing it, but if you linger there for even a second, you can feel something incredible. The world leaning gently toward you, as though it has been waiting for you to slow down long enough to hear it. In this stillness, the invisible threads reveal another secret. Life is not just connected, life is continuously responding. One of the most fascinating threads is woven through adaptation, the ability of living beings to change themselves in response to the world around them. Plants alter their chemistry when insects nibble on their leaves. Coral shifts its color to protect itself from sunlight. Even simple bacteria rewrite parts of their genetic code within hours to survive new conditions. Humans adapt too, though in quieter ways. Your heartbeat adjusts to the emotional tone of the room. Your mind reshapes itself after every conversation. Your perception changes depending on the people you surround yourself with. You are fluid, never fixed, always transforming. This thread shows that life is not rigid. It bends. It listens. It remakes itself constantly. Another thread flows through sharing, a force so natural that most people overlook its depth. Trees share nutrients with weaker neighbors through underground fungal networks. Wolves share food with injured members of their pack. Dolphins guide sick companions to the surface so they can breathe. Humans, too, are wired for generosity. A kind gesture releases chemicals in your brain that reduce stress and increase well-being, not just for the receiver, but for the giver and even for those who witness the act. Kindness spreads through communities like light flowing through water. Every act of sharing strengthens the invisible threads connecting living beings, making the world feel a little safer, a little softer. There is a thread woven through attention to detail, the quiet precision with which nature builds everything. A spider weaving its web follows patterns so intricate they rival human engineering. Seeds follow coded instructions to sprout leaves in perfect symmetry. Snowflakes form elaborate geometric designs, no two alike, yet all following the same natural laws. This thread reminds you that the universe is not chaotic. It is composed with breathtaking intention. Every detail, no matter how small, contributes to the whole. Even your fingerprints' unique spirals shaped before you were born are part of this vast, detailed tapestry. Another thread flows through cooperation, a principle that underlies far more of life than competition ever has. Bees work together to care for their queen. Ants build entire cities underground. Even the cells in your body, trillions of them cooperate every second to keep you alive, each performing a task without which the whole system would collapse. When humans cooperate, something extraordinary happens. The group becomes smarter than any individual within it. Ideas expand. Emotions stabilize. Possibilities multiply. Cooperation is one of the most powerful forces in the natural world. It shows that survival is not just about strength, it's about connection. There is another thread, woven through rhythm, of need, the unspoken dialogue between living beings. Animals sense when the land is drying and move toward water. Plants open their stomata wider when humidity rises. Even humans sense when a friend needs comfort, often before words are spoken. This thread is subtle but profound. It is the intuition that guides birds through storms, helps wolves navigate forests at night, and lets humans feel each other's emotions without explanation. The rhythm of need binds us in a way that transcends language. Another delicate thread flows through rest, the essential pause that allows life to continue. Forests rest after fires, growing back with renewed life. Animals rest between hunts. Even oceans rest, entering long periods of calm before storms return. Rest is not the absence of activity, it is the preparation for it. It is the reset button for ecosystems. It is the way life renews itself. Humans, too, need rest in forms deeper than sleep. Emotional rest, sensory rest, creative rest, spiritual rest. When you allow yourself to rest fully, the invisible threads become clearer, and your connection to the world grows stronger. There is a thread in coexistence, the ability of countless species to live side by side, negotiating space, food, light, and life. Forests are not uniform. They are mosaics of species leaning toward each other, adjusting, compensating, and sharing. Coral reefs host thousands of organisms in a delicate dance. Even the microbiome in your body is a microcosm of coexistence, a bustling city of different species that must collaborate to keep you healthy. Coexistence teaches a gentle truth. Differences do not weaken the web, they strengthen it. When diversity exists, ecosystems thrive. When diversity is lost, the web weakens. This applies to forests, oceans, and human communities alike. There is yet another thread, quiet, emotional, power woven through longing, the silent pull that draws living beings toward connection. A bird singing at dawn is searching. A whale calling across the ocean is searching. A human looking up at the night sky, wondering about their place in the universe, is searching too. Longing is not a flaw, it is proof that you are part of something larger. It is the instinct that reminds you of your belonging. Even when you feel distant or disconnected, that longing is your thread reaching outward, trying to reconnect with the world that shaped you. And finally, there is the thread of continuity, the truth that life does not end with you. The choices you make ripple forward into the lives of others. The kindness you offer becomes part of someone else's memory. The love you share shapes the world long after you're gone. Every life, no matter how brief, contributes to the ongoing story of existence. Tonight, as the world grows quiet and your thoughts begin to soften, imagine the threads of adaptation, sharing, precision, cooperation, rest, coexistence, longing, and continuity weaving themselves around you like soft strands of starlight. You are not drifting through the world alone. You are part of its fabric, a living, breathing piece of its memory. Every time you breathe, you strengthen the threads. Every time you love, you illuminate them. Every time you rest, you feel them more clearly. Let the threads hold you tonight. Gently, steadily, endlessly. There is a gentleness to the night that feels almost like a hand resting lightly on your shoulder, reminder that even in darkness, you are surrounded by life. The world doesn't stop when the sun goes down. It simply shifts into another rhythm, another expression of the same unbroken web that binds all living things. In that dim, quiet world, the invisible threads reveal yet another layer of connection. Life does not just interact, it anticipates. It senses. It prepares. It listens to the future as much as the present. One of the most intriguing threads is the thread of anticipation, the ability of living beings to sense what is coming before it arrives. Birds begin migrating before temperatures drop. Plants prepare for winter long before the first frost. Even your own body anticipates dawn, adjusting hormones and preparing to wake before sunlight reaches your eyes. This thread shows that life is not merely reactive, it is predictive. It is always reaching slightly forward, listening for subtle signals, preparing for the next shift in the world around it. Anticipation is the quiet intelligence shared by organisms across the planeta, collective foresight written into the fabric of nature. Another thread rises from alignment, the way living beings orient themselves with forces far greater than they understand. Birds navigate using magnetic fields. Whales follow invisible underwater highways shaped by temperature and current. Humans feel calmer in sunlight, more reflective at dusk, more alert on crisp mornings. Alignment is not a conscious act. It is an instinctive leaning toward the rhythms and forces that shaped our ancestors. Your body carries these instincts, too, guiding your mood, energy, and focus with the changing light of the sky. It is the universe's way of whispering directions. There is also a thread woven through sensitivity, the extraordinary ability of living things to detect tiny changes in their environment. Bees sense electric fields around flowers. Trees detect vibrations from insects crawling on their bark. Even bacteria respond to the faintest chemical gradients, navigating with astonishing precision. Humans are sensitive too, though modern life often dulls this awareness. But the instincts remain. Sensing when someone is near, when a room feels tense, when the air shifts before a storm. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is a form of intelligence, your body, reading the world in a language older than thought. Another thread glows beneath every ecosystem, the thread of mutual influence. No creature exists in isolation. Wolves change river patterns by shaping deer populations. Trees influence weather by releasing moisture into the air. Even microscopic plankton help regulate the planet's temperature. Humans, too, leave fingerprints on the web of life through choices, emotions, and habits. Every action ripples outward. When you care for something, a plant, an animal, another person, you strengthen the network. When you ignore or harm, the web absorbs it too. Mutual influence is the truth that every being affects every other, whether gently or profoundly. One of the most delicate threads is the thread of alignment through emotion. Emotions are not just inner experiences, they are signals shared between organisms. When you feel calm, you radiate calm. When you're anxious, others sense it. When someone laughs, your brain activates as though you are laughing too. This emotional resonance is not imagination, it is biology. mirror neurons, hormonal shifts, micro-expressions. They all create a shared emotional field that links people, groups, and even entire communities. Through emotion, the invisible threads shape behavior, comfort, and connection. The emotional climate of a space is as real as the physical one. Another thread hums quietly beneath patterns of survival, the ancient strategies life uses to keep going. Some animals freeze to save energy, some gather in groups, some become invisible, some bloom only at night. These patterns are passed down through DNA, learned through observation, or discovered through instinct. Humans carry survival patterns to fight, flight, freeze, seek comfort, seek community. Even when you don't notice it, your body is practicing these patterns, shaped by ancestors whose instincts kept you alive before you were ever born. Another thread flows through shared wonder, the universal response living beings have to beauty. Birds dance, dolphins leap. Humans create art, music, stories. Wonder is not useful in the survival sense. It is something deeper, thread of joy running through life, reminding every being that existence is not just about survival, but about experiencing the world fully. Wonder connects you to others who feel it too. When you watch a sunset, or hear a piece of music that moves you, or stand before mountains that silence your thoughts, you are tapping into the same emotional well that all humans share. Wonder is the emotional glue of existence, the soft thread that binds hearts without words. There is also a profound thread woven through healing. Healing is not just an individual process. It is supported by the world around you. Forests help regulate your stress hormones. Touch boosts your immune system. Kindness releases chemicals that repair emotional wounds. Even the act of breathing deeply influences your heart, your nerves, your brain. Life heals through connection. Life heals through rest. Life heals through presence. Healing is not something you do alone. It is an exchanger flow of energy, emotion, and rhythm between you and the living world. And finally, there is the quiet thread of returning the instinctive pull that brings living beings back to where they belong. Salmon return to the rivers of their birth. Birds return to familiar skies. Humans return to people, places, or inner states that feel like home. Returning is not regression. It is recognition. It is the soul's way of remembering its threads, retracing its steps to where connection feels strongest. You return to yourself constantly. After a long day, after a difficult year, after wandering too far into noise and distraction. Returning is the compass of the heart. Tonight, as the darkness deepens and the air grows still, imagine these threads: anticipation, alignment, sensitivity, mutual influence, emotional resonance, survival patterns, wonder, healing, and return informing a soft circle around you. They are not distant forces. They are the architecture of your life. They are the language the world uses to speak to you. Let them remind you that you are part of a vast, listening universe, responsive, intelligent, compassionate, and alive. And as you rest, let the threads pull you gently toward peace, toward belonging, toward home. There is a moment in the night when everything feels suspended, as if time itself is holding its breath. Shadows soften, the world dims, and the edges of your thoughts begin to blur, like ripples fading across still water. In that in-between quiet, another truth becomes clear. Connection is not something you search for. It is something you uncover. Like brushing dust off an ancient engraving, the threads appear only when the mind grows quiet enough to see what was always there. One of the deepest threads flows through acceptance, a force so gentle that people often mistake it for passivity. But acceptance is not surrender. It is alignment, an inner nod that says, "This is where I am. This is what is here. And I am still part of the web." Animals practice acceptance naturally. Trees bend under storms, rivers change course. The earth itself shifts and reshapes without resistance. Humans, however, often struggle to flow with life. Yet the moment you soften into acceptance, you reconnect with the invisible threads, because acceptance brings you back into harmony with what already exists. Another thread runs through resilience, the quiet strength that allows life to endure. Seeds wait underground through long winters. Forests grow back after fire. The human heart, even when shattered, slowly begins to rebuild itself. Resilience is not force. It is patience. It is the willingness to begin again, even when the world feels heavy. You carry resilience in your cells. Every breath you've ever taken is proof of it. Life has taught you how to survive, how to adapt, how to rise. Resilience is the echo of all your ancestors whispering, "Keep going, there is more ahead than behind." There is a thread woven through permission, the subtle freedom to exist exactly as you are. Many living things never question. These birds do not ask if they are allowed to sing. Flowers do not wonder whether they deserve to bloom. Humans, however, often hide parts of themselves behind expectations or fear. But when you grant yourself permission to breathe, to rest, to feel, to be, imperfect, you reconnect to the web of life. Because authenticity resonates, the world responds to truth. And the moment you stop fighting yourself, the threads around you begin to vibrate with a softer, clearer tone. Another subtle thread is woven through reflection, the ability to turn inward and witness your own experience. This is a uniquely human gift, but also a heavy one. Reflection allows you to grow, to understand, to deepen, but it can also spiral into doubt or worry if left unchecked. The key is balance. To reflect without drowning, to observe without judgment, to remember that you are allowed to rest in your own presence. Reflection is how you hear your own thread humming beneath the noise. One of the most mysterious threads emerges through timing, the invisible choreography guiding life at every scale. A flower blooms at exactly the right moment for pollinators to find it. A predator appears just when the ecosystem requires balance. Even your own life has moved in ways that may not have made sense at the time but now feels strangely purposeful. Timing shows that life is not random. It unfolds, it reveals. It arranges moments like constellations' separate points that form meaning only when viewed from the right distance. Timing is the thread that reminds you, nothing is wasted. Everything is part of a rhythm larger than you can see. Another thread is woven through release, the quiet, necessary act of letting go. Leaves fall, tides withdraw, animals shed fur, shells, old skin. Release is nature's way of making room for what comes next. Humans resist release more than any other species. We hold on to memories, to expectations, to people, to versions of ourselves that no longer fit. But release is not loss. Release is transformation. It is the thread that clears space for growth. It is the hand opening so something new can land. When you practice release, even gently, the entire web around you shifts to support your next step. There is a thread woven through quiet courage, the kind that does not roar but whispers. Courage is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like simply showing up for another day. Sometimes it is choosing rest. Sometimes it is choosing softness when hardness would be easier. Animals display quiet courage, constantly migrating across oceans, standing guard over their young, trusting the land beneath them. Humans show quiet courage in ways just as profound. Opening up to someone, admitting fear, choosing healing, trying again after failing. Quiet courage is the thread that keeps you moving forward, even when the world feels heavy. Yet another thread flows through presence with others, the sacred act of being fully with someone. No distractions, no rush, no walls, just attention. When two beings share presence, human, animal, even plant, something extraordinary happens. The nervous system relaxes, the heart rate slows, the emotional field becomes synchronized. Presence is healing, because presence is connection at its purest. When you are fully with someone, you remind them that their thread matters. And when someone is fully with you, your own thread glows a little brighter. And finally, there is the thread of gentleness, perhaps the most underestimated force in existence. Gentleness is not fragility. It is strength expressed with care. It is the way a parent lifts a child, the way a deer steps softly through a forest, the way the ocean washes the shore at dusk. Gentleness changes things that force cannot. It soothes, it softens, it restores, it invites trust, it heals the spaces where harshness once lived. Tonight, as the world settles into deeper silence, imagine these threads: acceptance, resilience, permission, reflection, timing, release, quiet courage, presence, and gentleness braiding around you like strands of soft light. They do not bind you. They support you. They remind you that you belong to a living universe that adapts, forgives, renews, and holds you with a tenderness you may not always feel, but that is always there. Let the threads rest around you now. Let them ease your breath. Let them remind you that you are held by life, by time, by the quiet intelligence woven into every living thing. You are part of this story, and the story is not finished yet. There is a point in the night when stillness becomes so complete that even your thoughts begin to speak more softly, drifting like faint clouds across the landscape of your mind. In that softness, another truth rises gently to the surface. The threads that connect all living things are not random. They are intentional. They are purposeful. They are the architecture of life itself. Tonight, another layer of the web becomes visible. The threads that guide not just how life connects, but how life communicates. One of the most astounding threads is woven through pattern recognition, the ability of living systems to perceive order long before understanding it. Birds read the sky for storms. Trees sense the length of the day. Humans notice an approaching change in someone they care about without needing words. Pattern recognition is the quiet intelligence that tells you something is different, even when you can't explain why. It is instinct, dressed in subtler language older than speech. Another invisible thread flows through shared intuition, the mysterious way groups of living beings often sense the same truth at the same time. Flocks lift into the air in a single motion. Schools of fish turn in perfect harmony. Humans, too, experience moments where entire communities shift emotionally together during celebrations, crises, or silent nighttime thoughts that seem to echo across distances. Shared intuition is not coincidence. It is resonance. Threads vibrating in harmony when life is paying attention to the same thing. There is also a thread woven through grace, the effortless elegance with which life responds to challenge. Rivers find a way around obstacles. Birds land with precision on thin branches. Cats navigate darkness with fluid certainty. Even humans, in their most difficult moments, find ways to move forward with a softness they didn't know they possessed. Grace is resilience made gentle. It is strength without noise. It is the quiet confidence that life will find a way. Another delicate thread flows through gratitude, though not the kind written in journals or spoken aloud at dinner tables. This gratitude is instinctual, subtle awareness every living being has for the forces that sustain it. Plants thank the sun by turning their leaves toward the light. Animals return to watering holes that have supported generations. Humans feel a quiet fullness in moments of safety, nourishment, and beauty. Gratitude is the emotional bridge between need and nourishment. A thread that confirms, I am supported, I am alive, I belong. There is a thread woven through repair, the universal process through which life mends what has been hurt or broken. Bones knit themselves, forests regrow. Emotional wounds soften with time and tenderness. Even the planet repairs itself, oceans clearing, soil rebuilding, light returning. Repair is not quick. It is slow, patient, and faithful. Life heals the way rivers carve stone little by little, quietly, inevitably. Another thread emerges through interdependence, the truth that nothing exists on its own, not a single species, not a single cell, not even a single moment. Flowers need pollinators. Pollinators need blossoms. Humans need forests for air, microbes for digestion, sunlight for joy. Interdependence is the deepest truth of the web. Connection is not optional, it is essential. To live is to lean, to give, to receive. There is also a thread woven through meaning-making, the tendency for life, especially human life, to weave experience into story. Humans do not simply live through events, they interpret them. A sunrise becomes a symbol of hope. A storm becomes a lesson. A quiet encounter becomes a memory that shapes years to come. Meaning is the thread through which consciousness deepens. It is how humans transform the ordinary into something sacred. Another powerful thread flows through presence with nature, the way the natural world resets your nervous system without effort. Forests slow the heartbeat, oceans quiet the mind, mountains expand perspective. Even a single plant on a windowsill can soften the sharp edges inside you. Nature speaks the language of the threads fluently. Every breeze, ripple, and ray of sunlight is a gentle reminder. You come from this. You are made of this. You belong to this. One of the rarest threads is the thread of inner knowing, the quiet voice inside that is not thought, not fear, not memory, but truth. This knowing appears in flashes, in stillness, in moments when your inner world aligns perfectly with the outer one. It rises when the noise fades, when you listen deeply, when you stop trying to force answers. Inner knowing is the compass within the web, a guide that leads you toward what feels alive, authentic, and aligned. And finally, there is the thread of continuing connection, the truth that relationships between people, between species, between moments do not end, even when circumstances change. Bonds stretch across time and distance. The influence of someone who once touched your life continues quietly inside your choices, your memories, your voice. Connection does not disappear. It transforms. It finds new ways to exist. It reshapes itself into something gentler, deeper, more enduring. Tonight, as your breath settles and the world softens around you, imagine these threads: pattern recognition, shared intuition, grace, gratitude, repair, interdependence, meaning-making, nature's presence, inner knowing, and continuing connection glowing faintly like constellations forming around you. Let them remind you of the truth your body already knows. You are part of something vast and intentional. You are shaped by forces older than memory. You are held by threads that never break. Rest in that knowing. Let the threads cradle your mind, support your heart, and guide you gently into the calm that waits beyond the noise. You are connected. You are seen. You are part of everything. And the night, quiet and full of presence, is here to remind you. There is a moment just before sleep when the world inside you and the world outside you begin to blur. Your breath becomes slower, your thoughts loosen, your body softens into the quiet. In this gentle transition, the invisible threads reveal another truth. The universe is not only connected, it is conversational. Life is always speaking. and in your quietest moments, you can finally hear it. One of the most profound threads flows through attunement, the ability of living beings to tune themselves to the presence of others. A mother recognizes her child's cry instantly, even in a crowded space. Birds adjust their songs depending on who is listening. Even plants respond to the frequencies of insects, adjusting their chemistry in anticipation. Attunement is the thread that allows life to respond with precision, with sensitivity, with care. Humans experience this every day, sensing someone's mood before they speak, feeling tension in a room they've just entered, knowing instinctively when someone needs comfort. Attunement is a silent language, spoken without effort. Another thread emerges through emotional imprinting, the way experiences leave subtle marks on your inner world. Just as rivers carve their shapes into stone, emotions shape the landscape of your mind. But emotional imprinting does not isolate you, it connects you. Shared experiences create resonance. A moment of kindness echoes. A moment of pain teaches. A moment of love leaves a glow that lasts for years. And when you meet people who carry similar imprints, you feel it immediately. An unspoken familiarity, a sense of recognition, as if your threads are touching. There is a thread woven through humility, the deep understanding that every living thing is part of something far greater than itself. Trees grow for decades without seeing their own full height. Stars burn for billions of years without knowing the worlds they illuminate. Humility is the quiet truth that you are a single note in a cosmic symphonot, insignificant but beautifully interwoven. Humility softens the ego. It opens the heart. It strengthens connection. Because the moment you stop trying to stand apart, you realize you were never separate to begin with. Another gentle thread flows through tenderness, the soft instinct to care for what is fragile. Tenderness appears when a bird shelters its young beneath its wings, when a dog curls around a sleeping child, when a person lowers their voice without thinking in the presence of someone who is hurting. Tenderness is not weakness. It is instinctive compassion. It is life recognizing vulnerability and responding with gentleness instead of force. Humans often forget how powerful tenderness is, but every time you offer it through a kind word, a patient moment, a soft presence, you strengthen the web that holds all living things. One of the oldest threads is woven through story, the way life remembers itself. Humans shape meaning through story. Cultures survive through story. Even ecosystems tell stories written in tree rings, in coral layers, in the migration paths of animals. Stories are not just entertainment. Stories are memory. Stories are guidance. Stories are threads that travel across generations, ensuring that knowledge, wisdom, and identity endure. When you tell your story, or even when you allow yourself to feel it fully, you become part of this ancient continuity. There is also a thread made of responsiveness, the dynamic exchange between living beings and their environment. The world responds to you, and you respond to it. Sunlight influences your hormones. Human presence influences animal behavior. Even the energy you bring into a space shifts how others feel. Responsiveness is a dance. It is the way life maintains balance, subtle adjustments, gentle recalibrations, constant listening. Another thread flows through reverence, the quiet awe that arises when you witness something greater than yourself. A mountain range, a newborn child, the night sky on a clear winter evening. Reverence pulls you into a deeper state of awareness, reminding you that existence is rare, fragile, and profoundly beautiful. Reverence brings you into alignment with the threads of the universe. It reminds you to move slowly, to notice more, to hold life with care. Another thread glows through inner spaciousness, the open, quiet center within you that exists beneath worry, beneath thought, beneath identity. This spaciousness is where clarity rises, where intuition speaks, where peace lives. Most people rarely visit this inner space, but it is always there waiting to expand the moment you pause long enough to breathe into it. When you access this inner spaciousness, the threads become clearer. You feel less tangled, less burdened, more free. Another delicate thread appears in the pull of purpose, the subtle sense that your existence has direction. Purpose is not always a mission or a goal. Sometimes it is a feeling, a knowing, a quiet orientation of the heart. Purpose guides the growth of trees, the migrations of birds, the instincts of children, and it guides you too, even when you cannot name it. Purpose is the gravitational thread, the one that keeps you moving toward what feels meaningful, even in the dark. And finally, there is the thread of shared rest, the universal truth that all living things must pause, must restore, must surrender to stillness. Animals rest, oceans rest, forests rest under blankets of snow. Even stars rest at the end of their long burning lives, collapsing into silence. Rest is the great equalizer. It is the thread that reminds you, you do not carry life alone. You are supported. You are held. You may put things down. Tonight, as your breath settles and the night cradles you in its stillness, imagine these threads: attunement, emotional imprinting, humility, tenderness, story, responsiveness, reverence, inner spaciousness, purpose, and shared rest gathering softly around you. They whisper in the quiet. You belong to this universe. You are heard. You are felt. You are part of a conversation that began long before you and will continue long after. Let the threads hold you gently, like a warm blanket woven from light. Let them guide you toward calm, toward softness, toward sleep. You are connected. You are valued. You are never alone. There is a moment late at night when the world feels thin, as if you could slip through the fabric of reality and land somewhere quieter, softer, more spacious. A place where thoughts drift like feathers, and the distance between yourself and everything else becomes almost transparent. In that fragile stillness, another truth becomes clear. The threads that bind all living things are not only physical or emotional, they are energetic. There is a subtle electricity within life, a quiet vibrational exchange that moves through the world like a silent current. One of the most extraordinary threads is the thread of vibrational memory, the idea that places, beings, and moments carry a kind of resonance long after events have passed. Forests hold the memory of storms. Oceans carry the echo of migrating whales. Homes absorb the emotional tone of the people who live in them. Humans sense this naturally. You feel comfort in certain spaces, tension in others, warmth in the presence of some people, unease near others. This is not imagination. This is sensitivity to the residue of experience, the vibrational fingerprint left behind by life. Another thread flows through energetic exchange, the give and take of subtle energy between beings. When you comfort someone, your presence calms their nervous system. When you receive kindness, your body warms. Even when you walk through a peaceful environment, your breath eases without explanation. Energetic exchange is constant. It happens in silence, in glances, in gestures, in proximity. It is the invisible circuitry that allows life to support itself. There is a thread woven through orientation to light, the natural instinct of living beings to move toward illumination, literal or metaphorical. Plants stretch towards sunlight. Humans feel uplifted by brightness, warmth, clarity. Even emotionally, people move toward truth, toward insight, toward moments that feel bright inside the mind. Light is not just physical. Light is also understanding. Light is awareness. Light is whatever helps life grow. Another gentle thread flows through intuition of safety, the way your body recognizes secure environments before your mind does. Animals rely on this constantly. A quiet forest feels safe until a predator is near. Air shifts. The birds stop singing. The tension rises. Humans sense this too. A place that feels comforting. A person who feels trustworthy. A moment that feels right. This intuition is a thread older than speech. It guides you toward connection and away from harm. It is the body's wisdom speaking in whispers. One of the softest threads is woven through emotional contagion, the effortless spreading of feelings between living beings. Laughter spreads instantly. Calm spreads slowly, but deeply. Fear spreads quickly through groups of animals and through humans too. Even infants mirror the emotions of adults before they understand language. Emotional contagion is not manipulation. It is resonance. The way strings on a guitar vibrate when another string is plucked nearby. This thread reminds you that your emotional state is not contained. You influence the world simply by being in it. Another thread glows through clarity, the rare moments when everything inside you feels aligned: your thoughts, your breath, your direction. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It rises gently when the noise fades, when you allow space for your inner landscape to settle. Clarity is not something you chase. It is something you make room for. It arrives like morning, light slowly at first, then all at once. There is a thread woven through continuity of care, the long-lasting impact of kindness. Care does not end when the moment ends. A comforting word continues easing the mind hours later. A supportive relationship shapes your resilience for years. Even a single moment of unexpected gentleness can soften a lifetime of tension. Care is a thread that extends far beyond the moment it is given. It ripples through time. It settles into memory. It becomes part of someone's inner landscape. Another quiet thread is the thread of ritual, the small repeated actions that give structure and meaning to life. Animals have rituals: morning songs, grooming, patterns of movement. Humans create rituals too: morning routines, evening reflections, shared meals, moments of silence. Ritual creates rhythm. Rhythm creates safety. Safety allows connection. Ritual is the thread that holds life together when everything else feels chaotic. Another thread moves through gentle guidance, the subtle nudges the world gives you when you are paying attention. The right person appears at the right time. A needed idea arrives out of nowhere. A path opens just when you thought all doors had closed. Guidance is not loud. It does not force. It whispers. It suggests. It aligns. And finally, there is the thread of wholeness. The understanding that no matter how fragmented you may feel, you have never been incomplete. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means belonging to yourself, to your story, to the web of existence. Wholeness is the thread that ties all the others together. It is the deep inner truth that says, you are not broken. You are not lost. You are made of the same fabric as every star, every tree, every heartbeat in this universe. Tonight, as the night deepens and your breath grows slower, imagine these threads: vibrational memory, energy, exchange, light orientation, safety, intuition, emotional contagion, clarity, continuity of care, ritual, gentle guidance, and wholeness forming a soft constellation around you. They are not separate. They are part of your life, part of your body, part of your story. They are the quiet intelligence guiding your days and comforting your nights. Let these threads remind you that connection is not a luxury, it is your nature. You are held. You are guided. You are whole. Always. There is a quiet space inside you that most people rarely enter. A place beneath the noise, beneath the habits of thought, beneath the constant movement of your day. It is the inner chamber of awareness, soft, vast, untouched by hurry. And when you settle into that inner spaciousness, another truth becomes clear. The threads that connect all living things do not stop at the skin. They extend inward, weaving through the universe of your inner world. One of the most profound threads running through your inner universe is the thread of inner coherence, the gentle alignment between your thoughts, your emotions, and your body. When coherence appears severed for a moment, you feel it as calm, clarity, and ease. Your heartbeat steadies, your breath deepens, your mind softens. Inner coherence is the moment when all parts of you agree, when your inner world becomes quiet enough to listen, when the noise inside dissolves into harmony. This coherence is not permanent. It drifts in and out like waves, but every time it appears, it reconnects you to the deeper fabric of life. Another thread winds through self-compassion, the soft acceptance of your own humanity. Plants do not judge their seasons. Animals do not criticize their instincts. Stars do not question their brightness. Only humans carry the weight of self-judgment. Yet gentleness toward yourself is one of the strongest threads of connection, because when you treat yourself with kindness, you remember how to treat the world with kindness. Self-compassion is the root of universal compassion. There is a tender thread intertwined with inner truth, the quiet voice within that is unaffected by fear or expectation. It is not loud. It does not demand. It reveals. Inner truth emerges when your mind grows quiet enough to hear what your heart has known the entire time. It says, "This is who you are. This is what matters. This is the path that aligns with your thread." Listening to this truth is one of the most intimate connections you can experience. Another delicate thread flows through emotional integration, the process of allowing your emotions to be felt, held, understood, and transformed. Emotions are not obstacles. They are signals messages from the deeper parts of you, asking to be acknowledged. When you allow an emotion to move through you without resistance, sadness, joy, fear, longing, you become more connected, not less. Emotional integration strengthens the web within, making your inner world a safer place to be. There is a thread woven through inner rhythm, the natural pacing of your mind and body. Just as the ocean has tides and the moon has phases, you have cycles of energy, cycles of creativity, cycles of rest. Modern life pushes people to ignore these rhythms, but when you honor them, you feel grounded like a tree returning to its own roots. Following your inner rhythm is not self-indulgence. It is alignment. It is respect for the nature inside you. Another thread glows through contemplation, the gentle act of observing your own inner landscape. Contemplation is not thinking harder. It is seeing clearly. It is stepping back enough to watch thoughts pass like clouds rather than storms. In contemplation, the invisible threads become visible. Patterns, beliefs, memories, instincts, all woven into the fabric of who you are. Contemplation is the art of understanding your own thread in the web of life. There is a luminous thread made of vulnerability, the willingness to open your inner world even when it feels unfamiliar or tender. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but in truth, it is one of the strongest connectors. Only through vulnerability do threads meet threads, creating real intimacy, real understanding, real belonging. When you allow yourself to be seen, you allow connection to deepen. When others show you their vulnerability, your own thread responds with tenderness. Another thread flows through inner safety, the feeling of being grounded, held, supported by yourself, by your breath, by the quiet presence of existence. Inner safety is not created by external circumstances. It is cultivated inside you, like a small flame protected from wind. When inner safety grows, fear softens, reactivity decreases, connection becomes effortless. Inner safety is the foundation of every other thread. There is also a thread woven through inner spaciousness, the ability to hold many emotions, many thoughts, many possibilities at once, without collapsing into overwhelm. Spaciousness is the sense that there is room inside you, room for joy and sorrow, hope and uncertainty, growth and rest. Spaciousness is not emptiness. It is capacity. It is the gentle reminder that you do not have to shrink yourself to fit your experiences. You can expand instead. Another profound thread emerges through inner witnessing, the quiet observer within you that watches without judging. This witness consciousness is the most stable part of your inner universe, the part that remains calm even in storms, grounded even in chaos. The inner witness does not try to change you, it simply stays with you. It is the most unconditional presence you will ever know. And finally, there is the thread of inner unity, the moment when all the pieces of your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, memories, body, breath, intuition, come together in a soft, unified presence. You feel it as peace, as wholeness, as belonging to yourself. Inner unity is not perfection, it is harmony. It is being one with yourself at last. Tonight, as your breath softens and your eyes grow heavy, imagine these inner threads: coherence, self-compassion, inner truth, emotional integration, inner rhythm, contemplation, vulnerability, inner safety, inner spaciousness, and inner witnessing gathering gently within you. Let them weave together into a quiet tapestry, the inner universe where you rest, where you heal, where you reconnect with the deepest truth of your existence. You are not only connected to the world outside, you are connected to the universe inside, and both are made of the same quiet light. Let the threads hold you softly tonight. Let them guide you toward peace. Let them remind you, you are whole, you are connected, you are enough. There is a kind of connection that doesn't come from touch or words, or even shared experience. It comes from presence, the quiet recognition that somewhere inside another being, a thread vibrates in harmony with yours. In this gentle understanding, another layer of the invisible web becomes clear. Connection between living beings is not built, it is revealed. It is not something you chase. It is something you recognize when you are calm enough to feel it. One of the softest relational threads is the thread of empathic resonance, the ability to sense another's emotional state without needing explanation. Animals do this effortlessly. A dog approaches someone who is sad, a horse becomes still near someone anxious. Even wild creatures respond with sensitivity when danger or sorrow fills the air. Humans carry this ability too. When someone is hurting, you feel it before they speak. When someone is joyful, their presence brightens your own. Empathy is not learned, it is remembered. This thread reminds you that your emotional world is not isolated, it is part of a shared field. Another tender thread flows through trust exchange, the mutual permission between beings to soften in each other's presence. Trust is not a promise or a contract, it is a nervous system opening. When trust forms, your breath deepens, your guard lowers, your body feels seen. Trust is the thread that turns strangers into companions, companions into family, family into part of your inner world. Trust does not rush. It grows in small, patient moments of honesty. There is another relational thread woven through soul recognition, those rare moments when you meet someone and feel as though you already know them. It is not romantic by necessity. It is something deeper, more ancient, more intuitive. If your threads once brushed against theirs long before you met, you feel it as ease, as resonance, as the sense that your inner worlds speak the same language. These moments are rare, but unforgettable. They remind you that connection is not always formed over time. Sometimes it appears instantly, like constellations aligning. Another thread glows through shared silence, a form of connection more intimate than conversation. Two beings sitting quietly together, human or animal, can, create a harmony that words might disturb. Shared silence says, I am here with you, without needing you to be anything else. Silence becomes a bridge, a refuge, a language all its own. There is also a thread made of emotional sheltering, the instinct to protect and comfort others when they are vulnerable. A parent holding a child through a storm, a friend showing up at midnight. Even animals shelter each other, penguins huddle, elephants form circles, wolves stand guard. Sheltering is not obligation. It is compassion in motion. It is love expressed through presence, not fixing. When you shelter someone emotionally, your thread wraps gently around theirs, lending strength. Another thread flows through mirroring, the subtle way living beings reflect each other's expressions, tone, and rhythm. Mirroring creates attunement. It deepens understanding. It allows people to feel seen not just emotionally, but physically, neurologically. When someone mirrors your energy with kindness, your nervous system relaxes, your defenses lower, your heart opens. Mirroring is the thread that tells you, you are not alone. Your feelings make sense. Another delicate thread is woven through co-regulation, the phenomenon where nervous systems stabilize each other. Babies calm when held. Animals settle near trusted companions. Even adults feel their anxiety soften in the presence of someone grounded. Co-regulation is not a technique. It is biology. It is the way life balances itself through connection. This thread reminds you that sometimes the fastest path to calm is simply being with someone who is calm. There is a deeper thread flowing through shared meaning, the unspoken understanding that forms when beings move through life together. Families carry shared meaning. Lifelong friendships carry shared meaning. Even brief connections can generate meaning that lasts a lifetime. Shared meaning is the emotional imprint of relationship, the memory of laughter, the softness of comfort, the places where two threads twisted together for a while. Another relational thread emerges through witnessing, the act of truly seeing another being not by analyzing them, but by acknowledging their existence, their story, their truth. Witnessing is sacred. It transforms loneliness into belonging. When someone witnesses you, your inner world feels real. Your thread feels recognized. Witnessing requires nothing more than presence and compassion. And finally, there is the thread of relational sanctuary, the rare feeling of being home with someone. Sanctuary is not a place. It is a presence where you feel safe, honest, open, unmasked. With the right person, your nervous system settles instantly. Your breath deepens. Your thoughts soften. Sanctuary is the deepest form of connection. It is where two threads weave into a single, calming space. It is where belonging becomes effortless. Tonight, as the night grows quiet and your body begins to rest, imagine these relational threads: empathic resonance, trust, exchange, soul recognition, shared silence, emotional sheltering, mirroring, co-regulation, shared meaning, witnessing, and sanctuary gathering softly around you like a warm presence. They remind you that connection is not rare. It is not fragile. It is not something you must earn. Connection is your nature. Connection is your birthright. Connection is the quiet truth that has been waiting inside you all along. Let these threads hold your heart tonight. Let them ease your mind. Let them remind you that somewhere, woven into the tapestry of existence, there are beings whose threads resonate with yours. Gently, deeply, endlessly. There is a softness that settles over the world before dawn. A pale blue quiet that feels like the earth is exhaling after carrying the weight of an entire night. In that gentle transition between darkness and returning light, the invisible threads reveal yet another truth. Connection is not only something you feel. Connection is something you contribute to. Life does not simply bind you to the world. Life moves through you, shaping the web with every breath, every thought, every intention. One of the most expansive threads in this web is the thread of universal compassion, the instinctive tenderness that arises when you sense the vulnerability of another being. Compassion is not pity. It is recognition, a quiet knowing that beneath every expression, every behavior, every fear, there is a living being trying to belong. Animals show compassion when they protect the weak. Forests show compassion when nutrients flow toward struggling trees. Humans show compassion when they soften their voice, offer a presence, or simply hold space for another's pain. Compassion is not given, it is awakened. It is the thread that says, we suffer, we heal, we grow, together. Another profound thread flows through collective awareness, the subtle way entire communities sense shifts long before they can explain them. Birds take flight moments before earthquakes. Schools of fish turn as one. Humans, too, share emotional weather-feeling heaviness during global tragedies, or uplift during collective hope. Collective awareness is not mystical, it is biological resonance, threads vibrating together when the world changes its tone. And when you add your awareness, your presence, your clarity to this field, you help steady it. There is a powerful thread woven through shared responsibility, the deep truth that your actions ripple outward through ecosystems, communities, and emotional landscapes. Every kindness, every boundary, every moment of patience shifts the web. Trees purify the air for forests they will never see. Animals raise young who will shape futures they will never witness. Humans plant seeds literal and emotional that outlast their lifetimes. Responsibility becomes lighter when you realize it is shared, when you understand you are one strand among billions, and every strand matters. Another subtle thread flows through inner generosity, the gentle willingness to offer warmth even when no one sees. Inner generosity is not a performance, it is a choice. To think kindly, to forgive quietly, to soften internally, even when the outer world does not demand it. Inner generosity strengthens the web from the inside. It adds harmony to the emotional field. It changes rooms without speaking a word. There is also a thread woven through interconnected purpose, the way individual lives contribute to a collective unfolding. Bees do not know they are maintaining ecosystems. Trees do not know they are creating oxygen for the entire planet. Humans may not always understand the influence of their actions, their presence, their healing, but purpose is not always personal. Sometimes purpose is relational, existing only when many threads weave together into a single pattern. Another quiet thread appears through sacred attention, the act of giving your full awareness to something or someone. In a world overwhelmed by speed, true attention becomes rare and powerful. When you listen deeply, when you look gently, when you hold a moment with reverence, you transform it. Attention is nourishment. Whatever you give sacred attention to grows. Plants, relationships, confidence, healing. Another thread glows within collective memory, the stories, emotions, and lessons that move through families, communities, species, and eras. Migration routes, survival instincts, cultural traditions, the desire for home, the longing for belonging. Humans inherit these memories. Some are warm, some are heavy, but all of them connect you to those who walked before you. Collective memory reminds you that you stand on the shoulders of countless lives, and you add to their story every day. One of the rarest threads is the thread of benevolent leadership, which has nothing to do with authority and everything to do with presence. Some beings calm, others simply by existing. Some humans walk into rooms and the energy softens. Some animals guide their groups with quiet confidence. Leadership in nature is gentle. It is grounded. It listens more than it commands. It holds more than it pushes. When you become a source of steadiness, you become a leader in the web of life. Another essential thread is the thread of collective rest, the natural slowing that happens across ecosystems. Winter is collective rest. Still water is collective rest. Even human communities slow at night, creating a global rhythm of quiet. When you rest, you honor the web, because a rested thread is a strong thread. And finally, there is the thread that binds all collective threads together, interbeing. The understanding that nothing exists alone, not a tree, not a thought, not a heartbeat, not a sunrise. Interbeing is the truth that every breath you take is shared, every emotion you feel is felt by others, every act of love strengthens the entire web. Tonight, as your breath softens and your mind begins to drift toward sleep, imagine these collective threads: universal compassion, collective awareness, shared responsibility, inner generosity, interconnected purpose, sacred attention, collective memory, benevolent leadership, collective rest, and interbeing gathering gently around you. They remind you, you are part of a living universe. Your presence matters. Your softness matters. Your healing matters. Your thread strengthens the entire web. Let these truths hold you. Let them ease your heart. Let them guide you into a deeper, quieter peace. You are connected. You are contributing. You are never alone. And the web vast, ancient, and compassionate is grateful for you. There is a moment late at night, deep enough that the world has forgotten its own noise, when everything feels as if it is breathing in the same slow rhythm. The air becomes still, the ground becomes quiet, and your thoughts begin to soften into something weightless. In this gentle quiet, another layer of the invisible web reveals itself. The universe does not simply connect living things. It moves through them in cycles, and you are part of those cycles, whether you notice them or not. One of the most ancient threads is the thread of cosmic rhythm, the universal pulse that shapes the movement of stars, seasons, tides, and the very chemistry of life. The earth spins, the moon pulls, the sun radiates, and your body responds. Your sleep cycles mirror the rhythm of night and day. Your moods shift with the seasons. Your energy rises and falls in waves, like the oceans that cover most of the planet. You are not separate from these rhythms. You are made from them. You are a living expression of cosmic timing. Another profound thread flows through natural cycles, the quiet patterns that guide every creature and ecosystem. Trees shed leaves to conserve energy. Birds migrate to survive. Rivers swell and shrink. Even cells in your body follow cycles of growth, repair, and renewal. Life does not resist cycles. Life adapts to them. Life trusts them. Humans often forget this and try to live as though growth should be constant. But like every living thing, you are meant to expand and contract, to move and rest, to bloom and to retreat. Harmony returns when you remember that your body is not a machinate, is part of nature's flow. There is a gentle thread woven through cosmic ancestry, the truth that every atom in your body was forged in ancient stars. Your bones contain the minerals of old galaxies. Your blood holds the iron born from supernovae. Your breath carries molecules that traveled through cosmic dust before Earth even existed. You are not a visitor in the universe. You are its continuation. You are shaped by the same processes that shape galaxies. Another soft thread flows through planetary belonging. The profound sense that Earth is not merely a location, it is your home, your cradle, your partner in existence. Every creature belongs to the planet that shaped it. Humans, too, feel this pull. The instinctive calm of forests, the peace of ocean waves, the grounding sensation of touching the earth with bare feet. Belonging is not a concept. It is biology. It is the resonance between your body and the planet that raised it. There is also a thread woven through inner seasons, the emotional and psychological cycles that move within you. Creativity blooms, then rests. Motivation rises, then fades. Healing deepens, then pauses. These inner seasons are as natural as winter and spring. You do not need to bloom every day. You do not need to feel strong every moment. Your inner world is allowed to shift, because all life shifts. Another thread glows within cosmic humility, the gentle awe that arises when you recognize your smallness and your significance at the same time. You are one being among billions, and yet your life is a unique expression of the universe, never repeated, never duplicated. Cosmic humility brings peace because it lifts the burden of needing to be everything. You are one star among many, and that is beautiful. That is enough. Another delicate thread flows through interwoven destinies, the way lives cross paths in patterns that feel both mysterious and intentional. A chance encounter shifts your future. A conversation opens a new path. A moment of kindness echoes for years. These intersections are not accidents. They are part of the tapestry, threads touching threads, in ways that deepen meaning. There is also a thread woven through returning cycles, the instinctive movement back toward what once sustained you. Animals return to ancestral grounds. Rivers return to old beds. Humans return to inner states that once felt like home peace, openness, curiosity, wonder. Returning is not regression, it is remembering. It is the universe guiding you back to what nourishes you. Another powerful thread appears through allowing, the soft art of letting life unfold instead of forcing it. Stars form, not by pushing, but by gathering. Rivers carve paths, not through violence, but through persistence. Allowing is not passive, it is trust. Trust that life knows how to move. Trust that you will recognize what is meant for you. When you allow rather than push, the web around you opens. And finally, there is the thread of cosmic belonging, the deepest understanding of all, that you are part of something ancient, intelligent, and alive. You belong to the cycles that shaped you. You belong to the planet that holds you. You belong to the universe that formed you. You belong to the web that connects every living thing. Tonight, as your breath slows and your awareness softens, imagine these threads: cosmic rhythm, natural cycles, cosmic ancestry, planetary belonging, inner seasons, cosmic humility, interwoven destinies, returning cycles, allowing, and universal belonging glowing softly around you. They are not far away. They are inside you. They are what you are made of. Let them remind you that you are safe in this universe, not because nothing will ever hurt you, but because you are woven into a story far larger than fear. Rest in that story. Rest in those cycles. Rest in the quiet truth. You belong to everything, and everything belongs to you. There is a moment, deep in the night, when the world feels almost translucent, as if you could see the outline of reality, the quiet architecture beneath sound and motion. A moment where the veil lifts just enough for you to sense that everything is held together by something more intelligent than chance. In that gentle stillness, another truth emerges. The invisible threads are not only connections, they are instructions, guidance, a quiet intelligence echoing through every layer of existence. One of the most mysterious threads is the thread of subtle guidance, the gentle nudges that move you toward people, places, and moments that shift your life's direction. Sometimes it appears as intuition, sometimes as coincidence, sometimes as a thought that arrives with no clear source. Nature receives this guidance effortlessly. Birds follow magnetic fields they cannot see. Seeds sprout only when conditions are right. Whales navigate across oceans, using cues invisible to human senses. Humans sense guidance too. When something feels off, when a path feels right, when life opens a door without warning. Guidance speaks softly, but it always speaks. Another profound thread flows through universal intelligence, the deep order within the chaos. Leaves grow in spirals dictated by mathematics. Galaxies form patterns identical to seashells. Storms, DNA, sand dunes, blood vessel siege follows ancient blueprints written into the nature of reality. This intelligence is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, predictable, consistent. A kind of cosmic handwriting woven into every living thing. And you are part of that intelligence. It flows through you with every breath. Another thread appears through inner alignment with truth, the sense of peace that arises when your actions match your deeper knowing. When you speak honestly, something inside steadies. When you move toward what feels meaningful, your body relaxes. When you step away from what harms you, clarity grows. Alignment feels like returning to the correct frequency, your natural resonance. There is also a gentle thread woven through energetic reciprocity, the universal balancing of giving and receiving. Oceans evaporate and rain returns. Trees give oxygen and absorb carbon. Animals feed ecosystems, and ecosystems feed animals. Humans participate in this too, through kindness given and received, through presence shared, through the emotional balance of listening and being heard. Reciprocity is not a transaction, it is a rhythm. Another delicate thread glows through the law of emergence, the way complex beauty arises from simple interactions. A flock of birds forms intricate waves without any leader. Snowflakes form unique patterns from microscopic shifts. Human communities create culture, art, love or not, through individual effort alone, but through shared emergence. You are not meant to carry everything alone. Life emerges with you, not from you. There is a luminous thread of unspoken connection, the instant knowing that passes between beings without words. You feel it when someone meets your eyes at just the right moment, when an animal senses your mood, when silence becomes warm instead of empty. This thread shows that communication is older than language. Understanding existed long before speech. Another thread is woven through cosmic timing, the layered synchronicities that make certain moments feel fated. Meeting someone at exactly the right moment, hearing the words you needed to hear, finding something just when you were ready for it. Timing is the universe's quiet choreography. You feel its presence not through logic, but through resonance, a subtle click inside that says, "This was meant to happen now." Another deep thread is the thread of inner expansion, the feeling that your awareness can stretch beyond your body, beyond identity, beyond the limits you once believed were fixed. Expansion happens in moments of awe, love, grief, healing, or silence. When your awareness expands, the world feels softer, bigger, more connected. You sense yourself as a participant in something infinite. There is also a soft thread woven through universal listening, the idea that life listens as much as it speaks. The ocean listens to the wind. Animals listen to the land. Humans listen to the subtle cues that rise from with intuition, longing, dreams. Listening is the first half of connection. It is how the universe receives you. And finally, there is the thread of quiet belonging, the understanding that you don't need to prove your worth in order to be part of this world. You belong simply because you exist, not through achievement, not through perfection, but through being alive. Belonging is not earned, it is given. It is woven into the structure of the universe itself. Tonight, as you rest in the softness of the dark, imagine these threads: subtle guidance, universal intelligence, alignment, reciprocity, emergence, unspoken connection, cosmic timing, expansion, listening, and quiet belonging shimmering around you. Let them remind you that you are not lost, you are not behind, You are not separate. You are guided. You are recognized. You are part of an intelligent, compassionate universe, one that has been whispering to you all along. And as your breath deepens and sleep begins to rise, may the threads hold you gently, supporting your heart, quieting your mind, and reminding you, you belong to everything, and everything belongs to you. There is a stillness in the late hours of the night that feels almost ancient, as though the world is remembering itself, returning to a deeper rhythm beneath the noise of human life. In that hushed atmosphere, another layer of the invisible web becomes visible. Connection is not only emotional or spiritual, it is ecological, energetic, gravitational, and atmospheric. It exists in every system that shapes life. One of the most foundational threads is the thread of atmospheric connection, the way the air that moves through your lungs has touched forests, oceans, deserts, and distant mountains. Every breath you take is shared with every creature on Earth. Molecules you inhale tonight might have been exhaled by ancient trees or carried through storms halfway across the world. Breath is the original thread, the oldest conversation between life and life. Another subtle thread flows through electromagnetic belonging, the way all living beings are influenced by the Earth's magnetic field. Birds navigate by it. Whales follow its lines across oceans. Even humans respond, though quietly your sleep, your mood, your internal rhythms all shift with variations in the magnetic environment. You are not separate from Earth's field. You are part of its circuitry, a moving, breathing participant in the planet's electromagnetic story. There is also a profound thread woven through micro-ecosystems, the tiny universes that exist within and around you. Your skin hosts communities of microorganisms. Your gut is a thriving forest of bacteria. The soil beneath your feet is alive with billions of tiny beings that support every leaf and root. Life does not exist alone. Life layers itself. Life builds worlds inside worlds. And you are a walking ecosystem, part human, part forest, part ocean, part star. Another delicate thread flows through the chemistry of presence, the molecular signals exchanged when living beings come near each other. Trees release chemical messages that drift through the air. Animals pick up scents that carry emotional information. Humans release pheromones and invisible molecules that subtly influence the emotion and behavior of others. Your presence changes the environment in ways science is only beginning to understand. There is a luminous thread in gravity's embrace, the quiet force that binds planets, stars, oceans, and bodies. Gravity is not just downward pull, it is connection. Every object with mass pulls on every other. Your body pulls on the world as much as the world pulls on you. You are held by gravity, but you also hold. Your existence shapes the universe at a microscopic level. Another subtle thread appears through planetary rhythms, the gentle fluctuations in temperature, air pressure, humidity, and light that affect every being. Animals wake and sleep based on these shifts. Plants open and close. Humans, too, feel these changes often as subtle shifts in energy, mood, or intuition. Your body is a sensitive instrument, tuned to the changing music of the earth. There is also a quiet thread in ecological reciprocity, the natural balance of giving and receiving among species. Flowers feed bees, bees pollinate flowers. Forests create shade, shade shelters young plants. Oceans feed clouds, clouds return rain. Reciprocity is the heartbeat of ecosystems. It is the thread that keeps the world alive. Another tender thread flows through the language of movement, the silent communication expressed through posture, rhythm, and motion. Murmuration of birds, schools of fish gliding like a single entity. The way humans walk differently when joyful or heavy-hearted. Movement speaks truth long before words do. There is a thread woven through ancestral continuity, the ancient lines that connect you to early humans, early mammals, early life. Your instincts, your emotions, your behaviors carry echoes of beings who lived 1,007 millions of years ago. Every fear, every comfort, every longing has roots far deeper than your individual life. You are the newest chapter in a story that began in the oceans. Another profound thread glows in collective regulation, the way groups of beings maintain balance together. Herds regulate temperature by huddling. Forests regulate moisture through shared root systems. Humans regulate emotions collectively through gatherings, community, song, conversation, presence. No being regulates alone. Balance is a shared effort. And finally, there is the thread of ecological belonging, the understanding that you are not an outsider to nature. You are nature. You are part of the Earth's breathing, part of its memory, part of its future. When you feel peace in nature, it is because you are returning to the environment that built your body, your mind, your senses. Belonging is not something you seek, it is something you remember. You belong because you are made of earth. Tonight, as your breath slows and your thoughts float like soft clouds, imagine these threads: atmospheric connection, electromagnetic belonging, micro-ecosystems, chemistry of presence, gravity's embrace, planetary rhythms, reciprocity, movement, language, ancestral continuity, collective regulation, and ecological belonging gathering softly around you. Let them remind you, you are not separate from the world. You are not foreign to the planet. You are a continuation of every force, every system, every life that came before. You belong to Earth. Earth belongs to the universe, and the universe belongs within you. Rest in that harmony. Rest in that truth. Rest in the web that holds every living thing, including you. There is a moment in the night when everything feels slowed down, as if the world has slipped into a deeper layer of itself. Time stretches, silence thickens, and your awareness begins to soften, drifting into the quiet space beneath thought. In this depth, the invisible threads reveal a truth almost too delicate for daylight. Connection exists not just through biology, emotion, or ecology, but through the subtle architecture of reality itself. A quantum fabric in which separation is only an illusion. One of the most mysterious threads is the thread of entanglement, the way particles that were once connected remain linked across vast distances. When one shifts, the other responds instantly, silently, without crossing space. Life mirrors this. Two people who once shared a deep bond often sense each other's emotions miles apart. Animals respond to distant signals they cannot logically perceive. Even nature synchronizes storms, migrations, and blooming as if guided by a single quiet pulse. Entanglement reminds you that once threads touch, they never fully separate. Another quiet thread flows through subtle vibration, the micro-movements and energy fields that surround every living being. Your heart generates waves felt several feet beyond your body. Your brain produces measurable frequencies that shift with emotion. Even your cells emit faint light biophotons that communicate internally. You are an orchestra of vibrations, and your presence changes the resonance of any space you enter. There is a gentle thread woven through quantum possibility, the truth that reality is not fixed, but shaped by attention, intention, and perception. Particles exist in many states until observed. Choices reshape timelines. Thoughts shift chemistry. Awareness bends probability. Life is not a rigid script. It is a field of potential that responds to the quality of your consciousness. Another delicate thread flows through inner still point, the quiet center inside you where movement and thought dissolve. This stillness is not empty. Sit is the womb of creation. All cycles begin and end here. All clarity rises from here. All peace is rooted here. When you touch this inner stillness, you align with the quiet pulse beneath reality, the one shared by oceans, forests, stars, and breath. There is also a thread woven through the field of meaning, the invisible layer of significance that connects events across time. A lesson learned in childhood becomes relevant decades later. A stranger's kindness shapes a lifetime. A moment of pain opens future compassion. Meaning is the thread that turns randomness into story. Meaning tells you that nothing is wasted. Nothing is without purpose. Nothing stands alone. Another luminous thread flows through imaginal connection, the shared inner landscape where dreams, symbols, intuition, and imagination meet. Before humans built cities, languages, or cultures, they shared visions, symbols, stories. Even today, people across the world dream of flying, falling, losing, finding, growing. The imaginal world is a collective space, a quiet universe inside consciousness, where threads meet long before they appear in the physical world. There is a profound thread woven through the emotional echo, the way feelings ripple through families, communities, species, and even landscapes. A joyful gathering brightens an entire space. A grieving community changes the tone of an entire town. Even forests respond emotionally. Trees, connected by fungal networks, release signals when one is stressed or dying. Emotion is not personal. Emotion is ecological. It travels. Another subtle thread appears through unified presence, the state in which your awareness stops dividing the world into me and everything else. In moments of awe, looking at stars, hearing a powerful song, or feeling overwhelming love, the boundaries soften. Unified presence is the moment you feel yourself as part of the field, not separate from it. There is also a delicate thread woven through timeless connection, the sense that some relationships, places, or experiences exist outside chronology. You meet someone and feel like you've known them forever. You visit a place and feel instantly at home. Time bends around these connections, as if the universe is reminding you of something ancient. Not everything meaningful follows the logic of time. Some threads come from deeper places. Another thread glows through the quiet return to essence, the instinctive movement back towards simplicity, truth, and presence. The more noise the world makes, the more your spirit longs for stillness. The more pressure you feel, the more your heart calls you back to your own center. Return is not regression. Return is recognition. It is the soul remembering what matters. And finally, there is the thread of oneness, the deepest truth of all, that beneath layers of identity, culture, story, memory, and form, every living thing is made of the same universal substance, the same particles, the same starlight, the same quiet longing for connection. Oneness is not a belief. It is a felt experience, a moment in which everything inside you whispers, I am part of this. I have always been part of this. I will always be part of this. Tonight, as your breath slows and your awareness softens into the dark, imagine these threads: entanglement, vibration, possibility, stillness, meaning, imaginal connection, emotional echo, unified presence, timeless connection, and oneness surrounding you like gentle starlight. They remind you that you are not just in the universe. You are the universe, expressing itself through a human life, learning, feeling, breathing, becoming. Let these truths cradle you. Let them ease your mind. Let them guide you deeper into rest. You are connected. You are supported. You are infinite. And the web, silent, ancient, compassionate, holds you tonight. There comes a moment, usually in the quietest part of the night, when the journey inward meets the journey outward, and you realize they were never separate at all. The world around you and the world within you have been speaking the same language since the beginning of your life. In this final chapter, the invisible threads reveal their deepest truth. Connection is not something you find. Connection is what you are. From your first breath to this very moment, every part of your existence has been woven into the fabric of something vast, ancient, and profoundly intelligent. One of the final threads that comes into view is the thread of continuity, the unbroken flow of life through time. Every heartbeat you've ever felt comes from the same ancestral rhythm that pulsed inside the first living being on Earth. Every emotion you've held is part of a continuum, shared by countless lives across generations. Continuity shows that nothing truly ends. Everything transforms, returns, and moves forward. Another concluding thread is the thread of integration, the moment when all you have learned, felt, remembered, and discovered settles into a soft harmony inside you. Integration is not dramatic. It is not a sudden revelation. It is a quiet alignment, a moment when all the threads inside you and around you finally weave into the same pattern. You feel it as ease, as peace, as a soft exhale after a long journey. There is also a gentle closing thread woven through remembrance, the deep recognition that you were never disconnected in the first place. The moments you felt alone were moments of forgetting, not absence. The universe never left you. The threads never loosened. Your connection was always here, quiet, patient, waiting for your awareness to return. Another profound thread rises through reconciliation, the healing of the gap between who you were and who you have become. Life does not ask you to erase the past. It invites you to understand it, to integrate it, to soften around the edges, so the next chapter can unfold without the weight of old wounds. Reconciliation is the thread that allows growth to feel gentle instead of painful. There is a luminous closing thread in clarity, the inner knowing that comes after deep exploration. Clarity does not explain everything. It does not solve every mystery, but it brings enough light to remind you where you stand, who you are, and how deeply you belong to the web of life. Clarity is a form of homecoming. Another essential thread woven into the final chapter is gratitude. Not the gratitude spoken aloud, but the quiet one. The gratitude felt in your bones, when you realize how much has held you without you noticing. Gratitude for breath, for guidance, for the small coincidences that shaped your life, for the people whose presence steadied you, for the unseen forces that carried you through difficult nights. Gratitude is the final softening of the heart. There is a closing thread in surrender, the gentle release of control, the understanding that the universe does not need your constant effort to keep moving. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting life hold you, the same way gravity holds oceans and starlight holds galaxies. Surrender is trust in its purest form. Another thread that appears near the end is completion, the recognition that a cycle has come full circle. Completion is not an ending. It is a doorway, a transition into a new rhythm, a new breath, a new way of seeing. Completion is the moment you understand that endings are simply beginnings, wearing a softer face. And finally, the deepest closing thread of all, the thread of wholeness. Wholeness is the realization that you were never missing anything, that you never needed to earn connection, or prove your worth, or fight for belonging. You were whole the moment you arrived in this world. You are whole now. You will be whole long after the thoughts of today fade into memory. Wholeness is not perfection. It is acceptance. It is presence. It is the quiet truth that everything inside you and everything around you is part of one single, living, breathing universe. Tonight, in this final chapter, as you rest in the dim glow of a soft, infinite night, Imagine all the threads from every chapter: connection, emotion, intuition, ecology, quantum resonance, belonging, purpose, stillness, gathering gently around you, like a constellation drawn just for your heart. They do not pull, they do not bind, they simply remind you, you are a vital part of the cosmic web. You have always been connected. You have always been held. You have always belonged. Let this final truth cradle you. You are the thread. You are the light. You are the story. You are the universe expressing itself through one precious, irreplaceable life. Rest now. The web continues. And you, quiet, infinite, whole, continue with it.